Hello, I'm Megan Wright, and I'm a senior editor at Longitude, a Financial Times company. In this interview, I'll be speaking with Carsten Knobel, CEO at Henkel, about the role leaders must play to create a culture of innovation. We'll also discuss how data and technology are reshaping Henkel's approach to innovation and why risk-taking is crucial for today's enterprise organizations. So Carsten, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome.
You took on the role of CEO at Henkel at the start of 2020. I think at best it's fair to say that it's been a pretty challenging year. As CEO, how do you encourage an innovation-friendly culture?
I really strongly believe in the power of teamwork. So no single person alone, not even myself. That means also here the CEO, no matter how we are committed and how inspiring she or he is, can change really an organization's culture. And even if we look at famous leaders, and I take, for example, now Steve Jobs at Apple, you will see that they always emphasize the importance of having a great team. And only if the whole team puts together, I think you really can create something new. And also, let's be very clear on that. This is not easy, and it definitely takes time and effort also to be successful.
And as a leader, what would you say is your role in ensuring that culture is well established across the organization?
For example, with questions, how can we foster a culture of true collaboration? Or how can we empower our colleagues? And also, how can we create a culture that allows really everyone to grow up and also develop themselves? It's also clear that there is not a simple answer to these questions. And really every organization needs to find its own way. But also here, I would like to share some ideas which we have, I would say, developed. Because we are convinced in order to become faster in our decisions, we need to push really the decision-making closer to the markets and also by that to the front line. And that means less hierarchy and less processes related to that, fewer time-absorbing and intransparent approval processes, more freedom of decisions, definitely for the teams. In this context, we need a culture of empowerment, and this goes hand in hand with the ownership and the accountability of our results. So we need to encourage our people and we need to enable them to really develop and implement ideas in an atmosphere which is characterized by trust, by empowerment, but also of collaboration.
Tell me about the relationship between collaboration and innovation. How crucial is one to the other?
We are active in more than 80 countries around the world. We have a B2B business, but we also have consumer businesses. We run really global supply chains and we serve more than 100,000 of customers directly. And by that, we are reaching out to millions of consumers with our products every day. And really, this makes our organization also by nature really complex. Having this in mind, we must ensure that employees don't only work in their own area of expertise. Really, we need to establish a culture of mutual exchange, but also of collaboration. And by collaborating, the chance for innovation in that context definitely increases, from my point of view, exponentially. And really, this depends crucially on a good leadership culture. It cannot be prescribed, but we can clearly communicate what we understand by good leadership and also what we expect from our leaders. And therefore, for us, this is summarized in our leadership commitments, which we launched in last year. With each of these leadership commitments, we have defined very concrete do's and don'ts, and we have clearly communicated those to our people. And one of our leadership commitments is we act as entrepreneurs. That means we are daring to take risk, we are committed to drive innovations, and we encourage a culture of timely and also clear decision-making. And what are the don'ts that are to be overcome and what we don't want to see anymore? It is really seeing innovation as the job of the innovation teams. Or it's also being afraid of making mistakes. And I'm very specific here because we want to be very clear in our expectations to our employees.
What are the main ways in which innovation is helping Henkel achieve its biggest strategic goals? Not only related to growth potentially, but also beyond growth, perhaps in sustainability and other areas of the business.
At the beginning of 2020, when I took over as CEO for Henkel, Our top leadership team really sat together and we worked on a new strategic direction for Henkel. And one thing is very clear to us. Although we are building on a very strong foundation, and the strong foundation is we have strong brands and technologies, we have leading market positions, we have a very solid financial basis, and most importantly, we have a great global team. Nevertheless, we came to the conclusion that we need to change. Why? The world is no longer the same as it has been 5 or 10 years ago. Our economic environment has really become extremely volatile. And with that, I'm not now referring to the current pandemic, which we are all fighting against, but really processes and developments are speeding up, new markets emerge, and by that also established business models are disrupted. And as a consequence of that, the pressure to compete and also the need to innovate is really incredibly high. This means for us, if we really want to win in the future, we must really become faster, we must become more digital, but also more innovative. And we want to reinforce also the leadership in sustainability by contributing to a more sustainable society and also a more healthy planet every day. And we want by that also to enable our people to grow really with a sense of belonging. And for these strategic goals, for sure, innovation is still a crucial change driver. It will take both incremental but also disruptive innovations to deliver really a sustainable and a purposeful growth in the years to come.
You mentioned there the mix of pace at which you'll be innovating. How exactly do you want to accelerate innovation?
Really, in a nutshell, by really leveraging the full potential of digitalization across the entire company and really by fostering a culture of innovation and collaboration. I'm really convinced that the digitalization offers great opportunities for innovation processes. By asking the right questions and also by using the right data, I think we can generate insights in real time into new trends, new market developments, but also into customer and consumer behavior. And with the use of digital tools, we can do really targeted testing directly in the market, and by that, really quickly adapting our concepts. And with this approach, we can really develop innovations together with our consumers based on their feedback, but also based on their insights. And, that is just the beginning. And I think we have also taken a new approach on how we organize ourselves. And by that, we created a new unit, which we call Henkel DX. Here, we are bringing together the digital experts of our company, the process owners, and teams from our business units and functions, but also as well as our venturing activities. And we are also hiring new digital experts who will be working both in our established units and also in our dedicated digital innovation hubs.
We conducted a survey of 500 senior executives to understand the relationship between culture and innovation in their organization and how that's really changing over time. What we found was the majority of businesses actually say that innovation is more important now than it's ever been. So I'm interested to know, how are you using technology and digitization to support innovation at Henkel?
Digitalization is really for us a key lever to further improve our competitiveness. Over the past years, we substantially invested in our infrastructure of digital and also in our digital upskilling. And we see that the pandemic has been really a catalyst for both our cultural journey on the one side and also our digital transformation on the other side. But I'm convinced there are great opportunities ahead of us. The only thing is, we must really size them. And that's why we have fundamentally changed also the way we manage and the lead of digital. For us, it's really no longer a separate function or a team, but really integral to how we do our business and how we run our company. In our labs, in our supply chain and the factories, and in our exchange with customers, we generate really millions of data points on a daily basis. And linking this together in a meaningful way is really and has enormous potential going forward. We use big data technologies in our product development, really to optimize our formulations, for example, for our hair colorations or for the development of new adhesives for highly demanding technological applications. And with the use of digital tools, we can prototype really faster, we can test in virtual settings, and we can analyze customer feedback really in real time. We have a real cloud-based system that really collects the data from every single experiment which is conducted really anywhere in the world. So when an expert starts a new product, he or she can gather data from a system and by that benefit really from the experience and also from the results which we did in the past. And the system can even suggest concrete formulations, and that makes our whole product development leaner, faster, but also more collaborative. But technologies are only as good as the way they are used. And data is only valuable if it is put in perspective, if it is interpreted in the right way and also evaluated. That's why we have to invest in both, in technology, but also in human skills, and in our digital infrastructure and in our people and leadership culture. So for us, digital transformation and cultural transformation definitely go hand in hand.
Is data making it easier for big businesses to experiment and take risks? Or do you think risk-taking is always going to be a challenge for organizations?
Data allows us to make faster and better decisions. So to try new ideas, to test new concepts directly on the market, and also then quickly adapt them with less effort, with less time, and with fewer resources in comparison to the past. The analyzed data might even suggest new market opportunities in high-risk areas we didn't consider before. So therefore, a culture with a strong test and learn mentality will really remain absolutely essential. And employees must be really empowered and also encouraged to make decisions and to take really reasonable risk. And this again has a lot to do with a culture that also allows you for failures. Also at Henkel, we are not where we could be. After all, we are a global company with many processes and structures, which is performance, but also efficiency driven. So there's nothing wrong with all that, but we also need to foster a culture that also allows us to experiment, to explore new routes, and also in a more open way, and to be able to move on when something is not successful. And here, finding the right balance between two cultural dimensions is for me really a leadership challenge.
Our research really found a strong correlation between those with highly diverse teams of people and those whose innovation efforts don't fail more than they succeed. And in fact, when we asked people what are the most essential components to foster innovation, they said strong and inclusive leadership and innovation teams comprising individuals from diverse backgrounds. So what steps are you taking to increase and maintain the diversity of your workforce? And what benefits are you really seeing that have for innovation at Henkel?
For us, really diversity is more than just, these obvious criteria such as gender, age, or ethnicity. It is all about, what we call the mindset. We want to create a culture that values, but also promotes different ideas and also different approaches. Our Henkel team is already very diverse. We employ more than 50,000 people from 120 nationalities, half of them in the emerging markets. 35% of our managers are women. These are key figures that we measure and that we also report regularly. And we manage diversity with targeted measures to ensure also here a continuous improvement going forward. A very important prerequisite for this is having a very transparent but also a fair talent management system, because this is the basis for good succession planning, also for top positions. And in that context, diversity is also a leadership topic, because we must ensure that our managers recognize the value of diversity and inclusive leadership. And we have clear guidelines for this, but also special trainings, for example, unconscious bias trainings for our team leaders.
Why do you think diversity is so important in the context of innovation?
Because innovation often comes from allowing for different perspectives, exploring new approaches from open-mindedness discussions. And if everyone thinks the same, I think it's difficult for something new to emerge. And looking at our diverse portfolio and the industry we serve, there is also a good business reason for more diversity. To make it really simple, why should a group of white middle-aged male colleagues from Europe be the right ones to innovate or market new styling products, for example, targeted at female teenagers in Asia.
Which is a good point, actually, as we know through our research that less than half of businesses say they have a track record of delivering innovative solutions. How do you measure the success of your innovation efforts?
I think there are different indicators. Of course, the outcome is crucial. How fast, efficiently, and successfully can we bring innovations to the markets, or how do our brands and technologies perform? That's easy to measure. It's more challenging when it comes to the culture, because how good is your innovation and the leadership culture? And we actively seek feedback on this, for example, in a systematic approach by a 360-degree feedback, but also personally when talking to the teams as well as in employee surveys. All of this definitely helps us to evolve on that area.
So, what would you say is the single hardest thing about innovation in business today? And do you have any thoughts on how to overcome that?
I think it's indeed the cultural topic, because creating a test and learn mentality combined with a healthy tolerance for mistakes and failures, and then reconciling this with a strong performance culture. And to be successful here, we need to make really winning examples also visible. And at the same time, we should not hide failures, but use them really as a learning opportunity. Because if something goes wrong or doesn't work as planned, I think we need an explanation to get better, but not an excuse. For this, I think it's also clear that we need a good, healthy feedback culture, which is based on openness, but also on trust. And this really starts with each of us very personally. And here I don't make any exceptions, also which is related to me. So, for example, I have created a so-called The Hour of Truth with my leadership team. A really open discussion in which my team members challenged me on my biggest weaknesses in front of everyone and put really a lot of critical issues on the table.
It sounds like you're adopting almost quite a radically transparent approach to leadership, which is quite refreshing, I must say. How are you coping with any challenges that you've come up against when you try to instill this new mindset and this new culture? Because I imagine that that's not always an easy thing.
For me, the important thing is when we talk about culture, it's always a journey. And for me, it's clear that you will not change a culture within a quarter or within a year. And therefore, I think it's a mentality of not giving up and always, continuously working on that in order to get it on a long term really right. And I said it, I think, at the beginning. It's clear it's not about one person, because not one person can change a culture. It's really about the organization, and that will take time.
Carsten, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for speaking to Longitude.
Thank you.
This audio interview is supported by Henkel in partnership with the Financial Times and Longitude. Thanks for listening.